Hey guys, what's up? This is Justin Davis from Drone Camps RC. We're online at dronecamps.com. We're an official DJI dealer. We ship from the US. We offer service, sales, and repairs. So check us out on YouTube. If you get a chance, type in Drone Camps RC. We got a lot of cool videos, tips and tricks and reviews on there. Subscribe to our channel if you do. That'll be great. Next thing you're going to do, so this video is for guys that just got their Phantom and they want to hook up their camera to their device, whatever you're using, your iPhone, Android phone, or Samsung tablet, or iPad. Third generation and I believe iPad Air and iPad Mini works. So first thing you're going to do is get your DJI Vision app installed on your iPad. We're going to go into the App Store. You're going to search for iPhone only. So once you search for iPhone only, DJI Vision, all caps, download that to your iPad and get that on there, and we'll move to the next step. Once you have that installed on your iPad, we're going to turn everything on. But before we turn everything on, we want to make sure that you take off the camera lock on the gimbal. You don't want to turn the camera on with that on because it'll possibly damage your motors. You won't be able to move and initialize correctly. Next thing we're going to do is take off the DJI Vision camera lens. When we do that, we can turn on the radio, the range extender. It's a little white box on top of the radio, and then turn on the Phantom. Once everything's on and loaded, we can get ready for the binding process. Now, before we do that, I want to show you on the side of this Wi-Fi range extender, there's a little tiny button here. You press that little button with something sharp object that you can push it in. Once it is pushed in, 30 seconds later, after you've turned everything on, you push that button and it's going to sit there for a second, and then it's going to start to blink green. Now wait another 30 seconds and then you're ready for binding. So the next thing we need to do is we need to connect to our onboard Wi-Fi. We're going to go into the settings. Just like you're going to connect in a cafe or at home, wait for Phantom to load in your network list. You see Phantom here with your SSID. The SSID number is going to be specific to your Phantom. So every Phantom has a different SSID number so that someone else can't control your camera when you're flying in the park or wherever. Next thing we're going to do is go into the DJI Vision app. We're going to open that up. We see that our Wi-Fi selection has changed here. A green light's indicating that we are connected to the onboard Wi-Fi. If that didn't work, go back out and try to do it again. Okay? Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bind the app to our radio and our range extender. The way you do that is you go into Settings, you scroll down to General, till you see Binding. You're going to go into Binding. Now go down. You're going to click Scan QR Code, and that's going to open up the camera on the back side of your device. So you might see my business partner sitting over there doing some paperwork. What you're going to do is you're going to walk over to your box, and on the left-hand side, you're going to see a little QR code. Take this camera, hover it over top of the barcode. It looks like a little hieroglyphics thing, and it's going to scan your personal code into your machine. It's going to lock it to your device. So now that that's done, it's going to show you your MAC ID address. Just click OK. Yes, I'd like to add that. When you do that, the last step is to press the little check button in the top right-hand corner. If you don't do that, it won't be bound correctly. Go ahead out, and now we should be bound. We should be able to use our camera, so we'll go back out, and we'll go into the camera option, top left, and now we should get some video from our camera. So perfect. Now we're bound to our device, and we can control the camera. Now you can change the resolution of this video feed from 60 to 30 frames. We like to keep it set to about 30 frames because we don't get as much lag that way. You can do that in the settings. If you go back out here, you can go into here and change that. We'll go into that later. But not for now, we're going to focus on camera settings. Now, to get to your camera settings for your DJI Phantom Plus, there's one way to get to it really fast. Click the little gear wheel and they pop up along the side here. Now, before we do that, I want to show you some special feature that a lot of people don't really know about. On the gimbal itself, there's a little button on the front near the status indicator light. Right here, right underneath here, there's a little button. Some people think that's a factory reset button, but it's not. It's actually something for you to take photos with. So if I was using this as a steady cam, I took the propellers off of it and I'm walking with the Phantom because it makes a really nice steady cam. If I want to take ground level shots, I can walk and do pans. I can take photos just by pressing that button. Little red indicator light flashes and tells me that I took a photo. Now the next thing to do with this is pushing it and holding it for 2 seconds will start the video recording. So then you can do your video record and then you can stop and you've taken a video. So now back to the camera settings. Now this is pretty neat. At the very top you got your capture mode and you have a few different ways you can capture stills. Single frame shots, burst of 3, burst of 5, and a timer mode. On the left hand side is your time frame. You can select 3 to about 60 seconds worth of time. On the right hand side is how many times it's going to take a photo in that given amount of time that you specified. So if you have 3 seconds, 5 photos, or you can take a whole lot of photos within 3 seconds or less, or you can go to an infinite amount of times and it'll fill up your SD card depending on how big it is. So when you get the selection that you want, we'll say 2 photos in 3 seconds, click the check button, and then you're set up to go. Now we'll go back, select single frame. Moving on to the next thing is photo size. And one thing I want to tell you guys is that your Phantom is going to come with a 4 GB SD card. It's upgradable to a 32. So you can have up to 32 gigabytes in there, no larger. Now, the next settings in here is photo size. This is going to be large, medium, and small. And those are different resolutions. If you're going to be shooting a really large photo, the size for that is 43 by 84 pixels, 3288, which is 4 by 3. That's 4,384 pixels by 3,288 pixels. And that's going to be a 14.4 megapixel photo. The next one in the lineup is medium. Medium is going to be a 12.8 megapixel photo, and small is going to be a 10.8 megapixel. That's 10.8 megapixels. So 14, 12, and 10. That's all you need to know. Now moving on to the next thing is the video resolution. The video resolution is 16 by 9 at the largest, and at the smallest is going to be 4:3, which is 640 by 480. 16 by 9 at 60i and 60p is going to be 1920 by 1080. And if you want to do a wide mode or a narrow mode, you can select that and move it up and down depending on which frame rate you'd like. 60 frames, 30 frames, 25, and you can go down to 720p, 60 and 30, and all the way down to 480. So that's 640 by 480 right there. And that's going to be standard old television format, 640 by 480, 30p, which is 4:3 VGA resolution. So when we have what we want, this is nice for slow-mo if we want to do 60 frames a second. Just gives us more frames per second and smoother video. See, okay, and then the next thing is going to be the photo format. The photo format will be JPEG or RAW. Remember in the time frame, the time elapse, you can only do JPEG, you can't do photo RAW because photo RAW is only one still at a time. If you have the Photoshop plugin, you can use photo RAW there, which is kind of nice. It makes a nice picture. The next thing in the list is the Selectable Iso. Most people leave it on auto. If you have a nice, pretty normal day outside, you can do 400, and that'll give you a better color saturation. 200 for cloudy days, and super bright days, you can go down to 100. Auto white balance, the next thing. Right now I have it set on the cloud setting for the indoors setting. You can also do an incandescent light. It'll show more blues and less saturation. You can do a sunny day. Back to auto white balance. And then the cloudy seems to do the best saturation in this lighting environment. We have fluorescent lights in the store. So the next thing is exposure metering. And exposure metering tells you where the camera wants to put the most light saturation in the photo so that it's accurately exposed. Now the first one is going to be center here, and then the next one's going to be the average, and that averages out in the middle of the scene. So if you have a subject you want to focus on here, this is spot, so it'll focus more, exposing accurately exposure on the center of the frame. And normally we leave it on center for this setup. So we'll go back out. And the next thing down there is exposure compensation. Exposure compensation is for those days when you have a little bit of a cloudy day and you want to get it kind of adjusted to specific light or dark values. You can go up and down in this list and you can experiment. That gives the best color saturation or light balance for you. Click the check button when you're finished. The next thing down is going to be your grain in your photo. If you find that some of your photos are looking a little bit grainy, you can change it from standard to hard to soft. Hard is going to be a little more grainy, and soft is going to smooth things out. It's kind of a nice feature. The next thing is the anti-flicker. So you have auto, which most of the time we leave it on auto. Depending on whether you're filming indoors or outdoors, you can select 50 or 60 megahertz or hertz, excuse me. And the second to last thing we have is the reset button. You can you can reset the camera values to the original factory settings. If you do that, it'll restore factory defaults. So it'll reset all of these settings in here for you. It's not going to reset your software, but your firmware rather. Now the last thing here is, a lot of guys are asking me, how do I reformat my SD card? At the very bottom of the list in settings is how you reformat your SD card. Once these cards fill up, if you have a 4 gigabyte card, they fill up pretty fast, so you can do that there. So that's the settings in the Vision Plus camera. If you guys have any questions or other ideas about shooting different locations, if you have any questions at all, you can email us at dronecamps@gmail.com. We'd be sure to fire you back a quick email and answer your questions. So thanks for watching. Check us out on YouTube and subscribe to Drone Camps RC. We'll talk to you again next time. Thanks for watching.